Today we're going to talk about seat numbers, how to use them appropriately, and the problems it causes when you don't use them appropriately. So, if you're new and you haven't been using this procedure because you either weren't taught or don't completely understand it, or if you've been around for a while and you're not using seat numbers correctly because you think it's faster or you prefer it, um, I'm going to explain here why everyone needs to be doing this consistently. It's an expectation of you as a part of your job. And if you're not doing it correctly, you are going to be told at some point that you need to get on board and start doing this the right way. All right, so I'm going to share my screen over to the right here, and I'm going to show everyone a couple of examples of the problems that not using seat numbers can cause. Um, and it's a communication issue with the bar or the kitchen. And then I'm going to show you the correct way to do these things. So just to start out, I've logged in. I'm on the floor plan screen. So if you're not already there, let's navigate to that. I'm going to start a table. And just for the sake of example, I'm going to use table 81. So I'm going to touch the table to open it. I'm going to enter the number of guests that are at the table. I noticed that a lot of people don't do this the way that they should. So you have two options here. You can enter the number of people that are literally at the table right at the moment when you first approach it, or you can enter the number of chairs that are at the table so that you've got all likely possibilities covered. So for this instance, I'm going to enter the number 6 out at table 81 just because I'm going to pretend there are 6 people sitting there. So I've got 6 customers here. Whenever I approach a table, I'm going to start on my left-hand side, and then I'm going to take orders there at that starting point as seat 1, and I'm going to go clockwise around the table, taking orders in that order. If people shout an order at me out of order, right? So, like, say the person who's at seat 5 tells me his order after I've gotten seat 1's, that's okay. I'm still going to enter him as seat 5, and I'm going to do that because people don't typically get up and move once they've chosen a seat. It's not to say that they never do, but we're talking about what's typical and what's most common. And most commonly, once people have chosen a seat at a dining table in a restaurant, they're not going to get up and move seats. Um, if they do, it's an anomaly and you can handle it. I'm positive. So we're going to start over here on my left. For this example, I'm going to show you what's wrong with not using seat numbers correctly. So I'm going to pretend that the person immediately to my left wants a snapper. So I'm going to go to mugs. I'm going to ring in a mug of snapper. I'm going to hit seat 1 and add to check. Um, I'm going to say that seat 2 pipes up and says, you know what, I want a snapper too. And so I'm thinking, you know what, that's fine. I'm just going to repeat it. I'm just going to ring in like another snapper because it's, let's say it's a couple and I'm pretty convinced that they're going to be paying together. So why do I need to put it on a different seat, right? All right, so here's my 2 snappers. If you'll look at your unsent items over on the right, it says mug snapper times 2. A ticket's going to print behind the bar when I hit send, and it's going to tell the bartender how to make these items, right? The problem with ringing it in this way without separate seat numbers is on one line, it's going to say mug snapper. And in small fine print out to the left of that, it's going to say 2 times. As a bartender, I am not looking for multiples or duplicates of drinks, cocktails, beers, non alcoholic beverages, anything like that, because that's not normal. It's not normal for one person to order multiples of a drink. Now, obviously it can happen at times, but it is not typical. And again, with a restaurant with a high volume job of any kind, we're working with averages, we're working with what's typical. Because if we follow that rule and we process everything in a consistent manner, then when we do have outliers or anomalies, we're all better prepared to deal with that. If everything is an anomaly all the time, everything is chaos and nothing gets done quickly or efficiently. And I think that everyone should be able to understand that concept. So I'm going to delete these 2 snappers. I'm going to ring them in the correct way. Okay, so I'm going to go to beer again, mugs, ring in a mug of snapper for seat 1. Okay, seat 2 tells me they like a snapper as well. I'm going to go through the same process again, ring in a mug of snapper, but I'm going to say that it's for seat 2. And when I add it to the check over here on the right now, I can see that I have very clearly 2 snappers for 2 unique people. That's what the bartender needs to see. Okay, so to get your tickets quickly and efficiently, you need to be ringing drinks in this way. I'm going to ring in a third drink. I'm going to go to beverages and I'm going to pretend that there's a kid sitting with these people, that they want a cup of apple juice. It goes on seat 3. And I also want to communicate to the bartender, because they have this juice back there, that I want this apple juice in a styrofoam cup with a lid, right? We don't have any other kind of kids cups or different containers, but we do have styrofoam cups with lids. And so I'm going to select the item, I'm going to hit modify, and since I don't have another option here or a prep list or a modifier list to choose from, like food preps or bar preps, I'm going to go to add item note. Anytime you're typing in a note, it needs to be as short and concise as possible. If you type a bunch of conversational words or phrases into this box, the bartender has to stop and read it. It's going to take time away from preparation. It's going to take time away from other tickets. It's going to take time away from everything. And it's going to make mistakes more likely to happen because they're focusing on this unnecessarily long piece of text, right? So I'm going to hit all caps because I want this to be bold, easy to read, and I'm going to type in kid cup. Hit done and hit save changes. Any bartender is going to know exactly what that means with very little thought, right? So you've just taken care of that without causing any sort of confusion or backup or anything like that. Let's ring in 3 more drinks for this table because we have 6 people sitting here. We're going to go to liquors. We're going to ring in a Jack and Coke. If you're not familiar with how our alcohol works, and this is a double tall Jack and Coke, all of our cocktails and mixed drinks are doubles unless otherwise requested. And the way our pricing scheme works on all of our regular alcohol is that doubles are just $1 more all day, every day, whether it's happy hour or not. So I'm going to add a Coke as my mixer and add this to check. And you can see that Jack Daniels was $12 total, and it was only an extra dollar to make it a double instead of a single. So everything is like that except for our top shelf bourbon menu. Those items are completely different. The pricing scheme is different, and they're pretty expensive items. And so when someone orders a double of one of those top shelf bourbons, the price will literally be double because it's double the amount, double the price. Okay, so 2 more beverages here. I'm going to ring in a Coke, so a soda for seat 5, a Coke, and then I'm going to ring in a wine. I'm going to ring in a glass of Cabernet, which is a red wine. If you don't already know your wines, your beer styles, things like that, you don't have to be an expert, but it's a really good idea to have a very basic understanding of what alcohol types are, roughly. If you don't already know that, I would recommend you go to liquor.com, liquor.com. And there are tons of different articles. Just type a search term in beer styles, types of wine, something like that. Or basic types of alcohol or classic cocktails. Um, Anything like that. And you'll find there are a wealth of educational articles on alcohols, cocktails, from basic to incredibly involved. So I would recommend you look at that if you haven't already. All right, on this order, I've got my 6 drinks rang in. I'm going to hit send, and I'm going to go prepare those drinks. I'm going to go to the kitchen. I'm going to grab a drink tray. I'm going to put my non-alcoholic beverages that I prepare, so my sodas, any waters that I have, anything like that, on that tray. And then I am going to go over to the bar, and I'm going to pick up the rest of my order. I'm going to carry it back to this table all at the same time. One thing you do not want to be doing here at Truman's is carrying individual drinks back and forth without a tray because you can't carry them all at one time. You need to carry everything at one time. And you don't need to carry non-alcoholic drinks and then bar drinks. That's not the way we do things here. Customers expect to have all their drinks delivered at the same time. You'll get a much higher satisfaction rate that way. I know there are a lot of chain restaurants that do that, but I don't think any customer likes that. And if you've ever been on the receiving end of that, it's a little frustrating. We deal with it because it's what they do at those places. But in an ideal world, everyone would like to get their beverages at the same time. So let's make sure we're doing that. If you aren't good at carrying a tray, I recommend that you start carrying a tray for 2 glasses, 3 glasses. Start small, get good at it. The more you do it, the better you will get at it. And the more you do it, the faster you will get good at it. So, um, the only way to get good at something is to practice. So start immediately if you're not doing it already. Taking all of your drinks at one time, and I believe 12 glasses can fit on one of our drink trays. Taking all of them at the same time is going to exponentially increase your service speed if you're not already doing it. All right, let's go back to table 81 on the floor plan. Let's open it back up and let's go ahead and ring in some food. All right, so we've got seat 1. I'm going to start there again if I can. And since I approach the table and I make eye contact with the customers, I'm going to direct this conversation and I'm going to direct this order taking process as much as I possibly can by approaching the table in that same spot and looking at that person and starting with them and asking them directly, Are you ready to order, or would you guys like some more time? Maybe then I'll scan the table with my eyes, but I'm going to try my best to direct the interaction by looking at that person and asking them directly if they'd like to go ahead and order. So let's say that he does. Um, he's going to have a bacon western. I'm going to show you again why it's problematic that you ring in duplicate items under one seat for the kitchen. And in this instance, we're going to go to burgers. We're going to ring in this bacon western. Um, Seat one, he wants it medium and some steak fries. And the next person, seat two, says, "Oh, that sounds great. I'll have the same thing again." So again, I do have the option of hitting repeat. I've got 2 times bacon western. Um, I can hit modify. I can reduce the quantity back to one and hit save changes. I can go back to burgers. I can ring it in again exactly the same, but if I hit seat one again, I'm going to come up with exactly the same thing, because if the orders are identical, the system is always going to default to making them a quantity unless they're on a different seat number. So again, if you ring this in, the kitchen gets this ticket, and the cook doesn't happen to notice that it says 2 times bacon western, which what cook is looking for someone to order 2 bacon westerns? That's not a thing. No one can eat 2 bacon western combo meals, right? And if they can, they really shouldn't. So again, you run the risk and the great likelihood of only getting 1 bacon western and having the ticket laying there, and then you go back to the kitchen and you've waited 20 minutes and you only have one plate. And now your table's mad, you're missing a plate, the kitchen's upset with you, and you've really just made a mess of things. And so let's make sure that we're doing this correctly. So we're going to hit modify. We're going to go back to one and save the changes. So we've got 1 bacon western there. I'm going to re-ring this correctly. I'm going to go to burgers. I'm going to hit bacon western. This time I'm going to assign it where it belongs on seat two. And then I'm going to ring in the rest of the modifiers here. All right, perfect. So I've got that ring in. Let's go to wraps, and I'm just going to quickly ring in some additional items for this table. A buffalo chicken wrap with some waffle fries. Okay, I'm going to ring in a dinner salad, a veggie salad for seat four with some ranch dressing. Okay, I'm going to do a ribeye dinner, seat five. They want this rare. Every ribeye dinner comes with mashed potatoes and a side of their choice and a salad. If you're not familiar with our entrees, take a look because some of them come with different items. The country fried steak dinner also has mashed potatoes and a side and a salad. The catfish dinner comes with coleslaw and a side and a salad. So if you're not familiar with our entrees, there aren't very many on the list. Take a look. Make sure you know what comes with them so that you don't run into problems when you're taking these orders. Mashed potatoes with no gravy and a coleslaw on this one and ranch for the salad. Okay, and last one, seat six. And I'm going to say that this person just wants the chicken tenders appetizer. So, chicken tenders, seat six. They want a side of buffalo, which obviously some people get this confused, right? If someone orders buffalo strips, order them the item called buffalo strips. But if they want plain chicken strips or chicken tenders, same item. Um, and they're in house, we don't have to charge them for that one side. What you'll do is ring in their sauce, and then on this very next modifier list that pops up over on the right, it's called food preps and it says dine in only. You're going to select the modifier right there at the top, the third one that says on side. Hit add to check. When you do that, the kitchen's going to see that you want a chicken tenders app with buffalo sauce on the side. You didn't charge the customer for an additional sauce. You don't need to because they're in house, they're dining in with us. We don't need to nickel and dime them to death. So I've got 6 orders here. That's the maximum number of orders that should ever be on one ticket to the kitchen. If you've got any more than 6 people at a table, you need to start breaking your tickets up into smaller increments to send into the kitchen. I will go over that in the next video about coursing or using courses. If you've heard that word thrown around before, that's what it means. So I'll go over how to do that. I do want to add a quick note about how you can add seat numbers if you made a mistake or if you have joiners at your table and you need to add extra seat numbers. So there's 2 ways you can do this. One is from your main menu screen. You can use the cover count button here and you can update the cover count to a new number. We had 6 previously. I'm going to go to cover count. I'm going to update mine to 8. Another way that you can do this is when you go in to ring additional drinks, and I'm just going to adjust this back to 6. Let's say I have 2 people walk up to this table and join, and I finish taking this food order and then I'm going to get their drink order. So this first person that joins wants a bottle of Coors Light, so I'm going to ring that in. Um, and I need to add a seat. So the button's right there on the screen. Add a seat, seat 7. The Coors Light is assigned to that. There's one more person. I can adjust my cover count, or I can use that add a seat button again. So I'm going to go to cocktails. I'm going to go to L, and I'm going to find the Long Island. And then I'm just going to add a seat and assign it to that new seat that I just added. Super simple.